many do. Here's my advice. Do your research. Results matter. Reputation matters. As the largest personal injury firm in America, there's really nothing like us. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com. Dial pound law on your cell. Pound law, that's all.
Offices, Philadelphia.
Celebrate the big 2020 with T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile and get 2 lines for just $90 and 2 new iPhone 11s on us. So you can FaceTime about a thing or two.
What you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
Take a portrait built for 2 with the ultra-wide camera.
I had my eyes closed. One more.
Okay.
Or with an all-day battery life, 2 can play that game.
Let's play again.
All right, I'll beat you again.
And this one.
Twinning alert, who wore it best?
It's sequins. Everybody wins.
And now, get our best iPhone experience yet with T-Mobile's newest, most powerful signal that reaches farther than ever before. There's no 2 ways about it. It's one sweet deal. Hurry in and get 2 lines for $90 and 2 iPhone 11s on us with qualifying trade-ins.
Via 24 credits for well-qualified buyers with autopay, plus taxes and fees. If you cancel before receiving 24 credits, you may owe up to the full value of your device of $699.99. Contact us. Qualifying port-ins and finance agreements required.
We've got all the news right here.
Hold up. Stop. I know you're out there about to settle on a donut and drive around all sticky-handed, raspberry jelly all over your sensible blouse. Well, this is an intervention, a chicken intervention. Because McChicken biscuits and Chicken McGriddles are now at McDonald's, freshly prepared and available nationwide. So just make that turn, hit the drive-thru, save your favorite blouse, and change your life for breakfast at participating McDonald's for a limited time. It's time to wake up breakfast.
Sweet and salty bars from Nature Valley are a perfect combination of sweet and salty. So take a moment for yourself out here. You deserve every last bite. Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Bars, now available in minis.
The New Jersey Transit Police Department reminds you that we all need to work together to keep our transit system safe. Your attention is our most valuable asset. If you ride the train or bus, if you live or work near a station, be alert and aware of your surroundings. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Report suspicious activity to 1-888-TIPS-NJT or text your report to NJTPD. New Jersey Transit urges you to help us keep our transit system safe. Report suspicious activity to 1-888-TIPS-NJT or text your report to NJTPD.
Now through February 13th, join Planet Fitness for just 25 cents down, $10 a month. Get tons of cardio, strength equipment, and free fitness training, all in a supportive environment. So say goodbye to phrases you hear at other gyms like,
If you're not crying, you're not trying.
Instead, get a workout that feels great. Just 25 cents down, $10 a month. Join through February 13th in club or at planetfitness.com.
Planet Fitness, proud sponsor of the Philadelphia 76ers. Offer expires February 13th. Stop in and see us today.
See club for details.
Don't go anywhere, King of Prussia. More Radio 104.5 music in about a minute.
Whether you're popping the question on Valentine's Day.
Good evening and welcome to the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors meeting for February 12th, 2020. As we usually do, we'll have a moment of silence, then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all will bow your heads. Stand with the board for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Lewis, any changes or additions to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And I see we do have a special action, police accommodations. Chief Hearn.
Good evening, board members. Appreciate you giving me the time to recognize some of my officers for the outstanding police work. Tonight we're recognizing 4 of my officers, 2 separate assignments where they went above and beyond, and they'll be receiving a commendation of merit tonight. A merit commendation is issued for a highly intelligent and valuable act of police service, which demonstrates a special initiative and perseverance in the performance of their police duties. The way the accommodations work is their supervisor submits a request. As a result of that request, it goes to an awards board committee. They'll evaluate the actual award, and from that point, they'll make a recommendation to me. I evaluate the entirety of the actual report and the analysis of it and determine whether or not the award is warranted or not. These actual 4 officers tonight will be receiving these awards. They are all valid and they're all warranted. So if Officer Ferrero and Officer Rawa would step up front, please. This was a job on the receiving this official commendation of merit to Officer Julius Ferrero and Officer Thomas Rawa. In recognition of your law enforcement efforts, you are hereby officially commended for actions taken on October 1st, 2019. You're receiving this commendation of merit for your exceptional actions while responding to and investigating a domestic disturbance within Society Place complex, which involved her mother and an 18-year-old son who was armed with a large butcher knife. Upon arrival, the male was outside in the parking lot, threatening to harm himself and others. As a result of that, your swift response and immediate identification, recognizing mental health issues with the male, were successfully able to defuse the situation, gain compliance, and peacefully secure the 18-year-old without injury to any persons present, including the male. The male was subsequently transported to a medical facility by police for appropriate treatment. This is an outstanding example of the de-escalation techniques used frequently by police at violent situations, which reinforces our desire and of our commitment to life preservation and the protection of the community. Your professional actions and dedication are in keeping with the traditions maintained by the Newtown Township Police Department, and a copy of this commendation will be placed in your personnel file. Congratulations, guys. Good job. As a result, they also get to place these items, commendation remedies, above their badges on their uniforms if they so wish. George? Nice work, guys. Appreciate it. Can you stay in line? Thank you. The second set of commendations are for Corporal Paul Deppy, please, and Police Officer Brandon Turpin. This particular assignment, we were being plagued with burglaries overnight in commercial establishments where copper wire and building material were being taken from properties. These 2 officers are being commended for merit, and are awarded to Paul Deppy and Brandon Turpin. In recognition of your law enforcement efforts, you are hereby officially commended for actions taken on October 29, 2019. You are receiving this commendation of merit for your exceptional actions while responding to and investigating a burglary at Pickering Manor construction site located 226 North Lincoln Avenue. In conjunction with the Newtown Borough officer, which was Officer Skurlag, your swift response greatly contributed to the successful communication of information, scene preservation, and subsequent arrest of a Bent Salem resident who was charged with burglary and related offenses. This male was also subsequently found responsible for several additional thefts and burglaries in the area, which were under investigation, and he was charged accordingly. This is an outstanding example of the ongoing cooperation and partnership we share with our counterparts to protect our communities. Your actions and vigilance are in keeping with the traditions maintained by the Newtown Township Police Department, and a copy of this commendation will be placed in your personnel file. Outstanding job, gentlemen. That concludes my awards for tonight, sir. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity and time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you, gentlemen, for your excellent work. We do have a police force second to none, all the gentlemen in the back, and I believe we do have one lady. Is that correct, Chief? Two, I'm sorry. And at this time, if you'd like to take some time to take pictures, why don't we take a 5-10 minute break, okay?
Listening to Radio 1045.
Philadelphia's alternative.
Okay. Moving right along, we're at our first session of public comment. Anyone who wants to come up to the podium, make a comment on anything that is not on the agenda tonight, feel free to do so.
Hello, John DeApril, Newtown Grant, biggest and the best. I'd like to talk about the supervisor selection and why'd you try to trick the public, make it a farce, and all that stuff. First of all, it wasn't my first time, wasn't my first rodeo. Always in the past, you had the people that applied for it advertised in the newspapers, the Advance and the Courier. This time, no. Matter of fact, till tonight, I didn't know who the 8 people were. Another thing, if you picked the guy on Friday, why did you have a special meeting, televised, to say that it was him? You told him on Friday, special meeting, it's more of my taxpayers' money, and when you say you're on a financial precipice, that's kind of tough when you're holding a meeting, you're paying the guy to televise it. Set fee, not only because it was 15 minutes long do you get a break on it. Also, you tried to trick the public with the full. You asked Kyle who he wanted. You already picked the guy. What do you mean, who do you want? You try to make him look like a fool? You trying to fool the public? What are you doing? Another thing, all the times I was there, never had a solicitor in the presence. What's the matter? Your friend needed a paycheck? You had to have a solicitor there? I don't know. You're trying to fool the public. You're wasting money. You could have swore him in tonight. Didn't need a special meeting to do it. Just, and then you'll probably raise taxes again. You're saying the guy's a financial expert? He handled people's money for about 15 years, I think. Started as a teller, moved up the line in Citibank until Citibank closed all its branch stores. He moved up pretty far. Then he went financial advisor. Then he's back in the bank again. So, congratulations, Mr. Teller. Hope you have a good time.
Thank you, John. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none. No minor approvals. Public hearing. Mr. Solicitor, I will throw this over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have received a letter from the applicant Toll. This is for our court reporter. Toll, PA, and then it's Roman numeral 18, LP. The applicant requesting a continuance of the conditional use hearing that has previously been opened on the record and continued. And it would be appropriate now, while we're on the record, for the board to make a motion to continue the conditional use hearing for Toll PA 18LP to February 26, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. in this room.
Do I have such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board?
Maybe I wasn't listening carefully. Can you tell me why they asked for a continuance?
I believe it is to make minor revisions to their plans.
Okay.
Questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. And
Thank you.
we need a motion to close?
No, it's still open. It's going to remain open, but that's it. We're going to move on to our next topic.
Reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Planning Commission, Mrs. Driscoll.
Good evening, Peggy Driscoll, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. Before I start, on behalf of all the members of the Planning Commission, I'd like to welcome Mr. Otley to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you for serving and volunteering to serve the community. We wish you all the luck, and I'm sure at some time in the future we'll be working together with you. The Planning Commission met on February 4th. The first item on our agenda was the planning module, which was component 4A for the Village of Newtown Shopping Center, which is Brixmore. The planning module package for the Village of Newtown was reviewed, and it included everything necessary at this time. There were 65 EDUs needed, which were included in the Act 537 update recently submitted to the DEP. The Commission moved to approve and authorize signature of the planning module component 4A for the Village of Newtown Shopping Center, and the motion passed 5-1. The next item on our agenda was the continued discussion of the JMZO amendment, which is the E30. Mary Stover from CKS Engineering attended the meeting to provide updates and answer questions on the JMZO. She reported Wrightstown and Upper Makefield received the ordinance, however, they have not officially reviewed it. Their solicitors made some preliminary comments as follows: to change the conditional use to special exception, to consider prohibiting diesel pumps to discourage large trucks, to prohibit the sale of alcohol and propane refill tanks, to visually screen the entire area beyond just the parking and other areas that were suggested, to limit the hours of operation if it is within 750 feet of a residential use or district, construct an 8-foot masonry wall within 750 feet of a residential use or district, to require indoor and outdoor security cameras that can be accessed by the Township Police Department, fossil fuel filters and shut-off valves able to be shut off from the site, and spill containment and prevention systems which meet or exceed all federal and state requirements. The Commission discussed each of these suggestions at length and agreed to wait until the other planning commissions in the jointure reviewed the amendment before making any additional comments or recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. The idea of having a joint meeting with the other township planning commissions was also discussed. And that was all we had.
Any questions for Mr. Driscoll?
Yes, I had one. You mentioned I was at this meeting, and there's quite a discussion about the changing the conditional use to special exception. I wonder if you can explain that, or maybe Mr. Sander can explain the difference, the benefits, and opposite of benefits for each.
Certainly. They are basically the same thing. Both a conditional use and a special exception are uses that are permitted in the applicable zoning district. However, there is something about those uses that the township deems to be necessary of additional review to ensure that there are no negative health, safety, and welfare aspects of those uses. The main difference between them is that special exceptions are heard by the zoning hearing board, and conditional uses are heard by the Board of Supervisors. But the burdens of proof for both of them, the applicant has to go forward and prove that they meet the specific criteria of the zoning ordinance, and then the burden shifts to anybody opposing the application to show that there is an adverse health, safety, and welfare impact. If they show that, then the burden shifts back to the applicant to show that there's not an adverse health, safety, and welfare impact. The burden is the same exact burden for either, for both a conditional use and a special exception.
So the conditional use, it would be a hearing before the Board of Supervisors.
Correct, just like the one we
special exception would be a hearing before the zoning hearing board.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mrs. Driscoll? No. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, on to board members' comments. I have no comments tonight. I'll pass it on to Mr. Fisher.
All right, just one or two things. My EAC report, which I used to give, John's going to give it tonight because he's the new liaison. And the other report that I would have, actually two others. The Finance Committee met last evening. There'll be some discussion later on in the agenda about the consultant contract. So can let that go till then. I may mention that we're also talking about economic development, and that's going to be one of our main thrusts. Working with the business community, doing some surveys, and trying to get more people working in Newtown. And then lastly, I attended the Sewer Authority meeting yesterday, and for those who live in Devonshire and Nob Hill, the final days of the constructions are in sight. Just yesterday they completed laying the main sewer pipe down the middle of the street, and they mentioned that they might be macadaming some of the gravel that we have been putting up with in some of the roads. So that might happen this week. In the coming month and a half, they'll be doing the lateral pipes that go into the houses from the street to the house. And after that, they're going to do some major base paving. So, and after that, the township has it on the paving plan for the end of the year. So that was my report from Sewer Authority.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mack?
I have a couple of things. As Mr. Fisher mentioned, I have a report from the Environmental Advisory Council. Sad to say that Mr. Neil Schnitzer has, for personal reasons, gave notice that he will be resigning from the council, which means I gather we'll be looking for at least one new person who would like to join up. And it's a very interesting discussion all the time about environmental issues. And they're working on some very important things, including the EAC comprehensive plan recommendations. They reviewed a draft of the environmental recommendations that they plan to put before the Planning Commission for consideration in the development of the next comprehensive plan for the township, which is projected to be, their recommendations are projected to be completed by the end of March. They also discussed the Homeowners Association Forum, which is tentatively set for March 28th, pending room availability at the Township Building right here. The plan is for a half-a-day forum to cover topics that include pollution reduction, native plants, renewable energy, and they hope to give a short 5 to 10 minute report on this at the February 26, 2020 board meeting. If we can allow that, that would be good. Finally, the members of the EAC plan to participate in Super Science Sunday and Earth Day activities sponsored by the Parks and Rec Department, and maybe Mr. Davis will have more to say about that. And the other point I'd like to make, an announcement, is that the Doylestown Rainbow Room LGBTQ Youth Organization is hosting a Love is Love prom on February 15th, 2020. That's this Saturday at the Missioner Art Museum for LGBTQ youth and their allies. The Rainbow Room provides a place every Wednesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. for kids to come be with their friends and feel a complete atmosphere of acceptance and love. We all know that Friday is Valentine's Day. That's why I wore the pink and red. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to welcome Mr. Oxley. Welcome to the board. I look forward to working with you. And thanks for reaching out to me to meet beforehand. So thanks again. I have Park and Rec report. We have special events coming up. Super Science Sunday is March 8th. This is a free event sponsored by Newtown Business Commons Association. Science activities include slime, engineering, robotics, and more. Come out and learn that science equals fun for the whole family. Other upcoming programs with Park and Rec, we have Scratch Game Design, Soap Making for Beginners, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Sensible Decorating, that's spelled C-E-N-T-S, I guess that it's affordable, I don't know. Taxes and Retirement, and Indian Cuisine, and that's all I have from Park and Rec report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Oxley, you have anything to say tonight, your first meeting?
Thank you to the board. Appreciate the deliberations to select me, and I know that it was a challenge, but I appreciate the thorough way you gentlemen went about it, and I look forward to helping the township on our quest to make sure that we do things in the right way, always. Thank you.
Thank you. No land development, reports of officials, engineers report.
Thank you. Tonight I wanted to discuss the Lower Dolington Road Multi-Use Trail Project. It's been a while, I guess, since we've talked about this, so in terms of background, the township was awarded grant funding from two grant sources, DCED and DCNR. Unfortunately, the township was partially awarded funding, so between the two grants, there's roughly $625,000 in terms for construction. So just as for background, this project includes a 10-foot wide asphalt trail from Frost Lane to Upper Silver Lake Road. I believe you all have copies of the plans, and this includes, ADA ramps, crosswalks, landscaping, benches, and rain gardens. So based on the reduced funding amount that we got, we met with township staff in order to kind of strategize how we can best leverage the funds that we do have. So it didn't make sense to take out specific scope items. Rather, let's start at Frost Lane, move north, and see how far we can get with the trail segment. So we worked on revising our cost estimate to fit within that $625,000 that we do have. So we can most likely get from Frost Lane to just north of that Pico power line easement. We evaluated where we could stop at. It doesn't make sense to kind of stop in the middle between two intersections, so we thought that just north of that easement made the most sense based on the amount of funding that we do have. So just to kind of go over the next steps, this is all just preliminary at this point. I'm thinking to move forward with the design for the entire trail portion. That makes the most sense in terms of getting all the survey done, the permitting done, and have that designed from Frost Lane to Upper Silver Lake Road. And then with that in mind, in the future, we would bid out the project based on the cost estimates that we have. So a base bid would be from, Frost Lane to that Pico easement, and then the next segment would be up to Yorkshire Drive, and then another segment would be up to Upper Silver Lake Road. This is kind of similar to what we do with the road program each year, where we have a base bid, assuming based on our cost, and then if the costs come in favorably, we can add in additional segments. So kind of tonight, all that we were looking for is really just consensus of the board of, moving forward with that strategy. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. How does the board feel with what was presented?
I like the plan.
Dennis?
I like the plan too.
Okay.
Especially the part that the engineering is going to be done for the whole.
It makes sense to not kind of do it in segments while you're out there, while you're surveying, while you're, doing stormwater management and getting your permitting done. It makes sense to have that whole project, shovel ready. And then it's also, if we apply for, more grant funding, we're ready to go and we have more favorable, applications for moving forward.
Mr. Mack?
I like the plan for doing it in stages, and I reviewed the actual plan for the trail, and obviously there's a few points where you have to cross over Lower Darlington, and I'm kind of concerned about the safety issues. I know there are crosswalks built in.
Yep.
And for example, a crosswalk at the Everett Drive location, there wouldn't be any stop sign there, but would it be like a normal crosswalk where you have the signs indicating that it's against the law not to stop for people in the crosswalk?
Yep. There's a pedestrian sign probably with the arrow pointing down to it to notify people that, there's a crossing there. And, this is all still conceptual. When we get into the actual nitty-gritty of the design, all that signage will be appropriately, placed.
Right, and the Frost Lane, it looks like you'll be able to, the stop sign's over there, and so you'll be able to cross to the park, Roberts Ridge Park, and actually be able to walk up to the trail. I mean, right now you have to climb over a little hill. I don't know. Make it a little easier for strollers and things like that to get up there.
We would have an ADA ramp there that would transition, to that existing trail, so there shouldn't be any traversing up that hill.
Very good. And so what do we have to do? We have to put out a bids for this, get bids for this?
Once, we're approved and have the permits and then the funding agencies approve, we would go out to public bid just how we would with any other construction project.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick clarification, there will be a stop sign proposed at Everett Drive.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. The vertical curve in the road at that location is sort of a difficult spot.
Yeah.
So we figured, just during preliminary looking at it, that a stop sign would be appropriate at that location.
Thank you.
Mr. Oxley?
I definitely enjoy what we're doing here with this trail because actually living on that side of the township on Yorkshire Drive, it would have been great for all my kids to get down to Roberts Ridge without, having to drive. But this is going to be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think you have a consensus.
Great. Thank you.
Solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item on our report this evening is an application for an Audubon grant. This arose from the EAC. One of their members took the lead and wants to file a grant application to the Audubon Society of Pennsylvania. I believe, and Mr. Lewis will correct me if I'm wrong, that the grant is in the amount of $1,000, and it deals with planting, making certain plantings and improvements on up on Helen Randall Field. And I was asked to review the draft grant agreement, and I did so. I noted a couple changes that needed to be made. They were made, and I believe that the grant application is in good form for the board to authorize it to be executed and submitted. And a motion to that effect would be appropriate.
Do you have such a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I need a second now.
John?
Second.
Okay. A motion, second. Any questions from the board?
I did have a question.
Sure.
I did have a question for Mr. Lewis. Is it $1,311 or is it $1,000?
$1,000.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next item on our report is the Reserve at Makefield paving agreement. As the board may know, and for those who don't, the reserve at Makefield is a two-phase development. The first phase is in Newtown, and all the homes are built except maybe one. The second phase is not yet begun, and that's located in Upper Makefield Township. I believe that there was, and there may still be, continuing litigation between the parties regarding that development, so it has not been built yet. However, there are plenty of folks living in the reserve at Makefield, and they are interested in having their roads finally paved with wearing course and dedicated to the township so that they don't have to keep driving on half-built roads. The precaution that the township had to take was that the developer will need access to Phase 2 to build once that eventually happens, and it will probably happen in some form or another. They're going to need access to it. So the township entered into or proposed an agreement that's before you this evening that gives the developer the right to pave all the roads in Phase 1, dedicate the roads to the township when all of the work in Phase 1 is complete, and allows them access over one road, and that is Clymer Street. That's the one that goes out to Stupeville Road. Allows them access only on Clymer to get through to Phase 2 when Phase 2 begins and in their efforts to construct Phase 2. It requires the developer to post a little over $40,000, close to $42,000 with the township to guarantee that once they're done the Phase 2 development, that they will re-mill and repave Clymer Street to our engineer's specifications so that we can get that road back to being like new again. So the agreement is before you. I've reviewed it. We've gone back and forth with the developer's attorney. We've made tweaks, and the agreement is ready for you to approve if you wish. A motion to authorize execution of the agreement would be appropriate.
Do I have such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion second. Any questions from the board?
I do have one, just one little one. They also have a $4,200 escrow for legal fees and...
Yeah, I think it was 10%. Yeah, at the same time they post the $42,000, they'll post about $4,200 in cash for legal, engineering, and administrative fees incurred regarding the milling and repaving of Clymer Street.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I have a question in regards. This is a split development between Newtown and Upper Makefield, correct? Now, Upper Makefield residents will be accessing township roadway to get on the Stupeville Road. So in that case, there is going to be wear and tear from another township onto our road, of which we're giving them access into this development. Who's going to maintain, you said Clymer is going to be maintained by Upper Makefield?
Clymer will be maintained by, the portion of Clymer in Newtown will be maintained by Newtown because it's being dedicated to Newtown as a public street.
Okay.
But it's the same, go ahead, I'll let you finish.
No, I was going to say, but the residents of Upper Makefield wouldn't have access to their home if they didn't use this township road, of which we are sharing with them to get into their development. Otherwise, they would have to have a looped road coming out to where? Highland to get into their development?
It would be lower, what's that road, what's the other side of,
I think the Enclave's on the other side.
it changes its name from Linton Hill to Creamery.
Okay.
I think it would come out to Creamery or
So we're saving their township the construction of a roadway going out in their township, but they're not going to maintain the roadway that they're going to use that we're giving them access to. We have to maintain that Clymer Road.
we have to maintain the portion of Clymer in Newtown. I believe a portion, Clymer will continue into Upper Makefield. and they'll be responsible for maintaining that portion of Clymer.
I understand that, but they wouldn't be able to get in there if it wasn't for the access.
I don't know, and I'm looking to Mr. Lewis, I don't know if there's an alternate access to the Upper Makefield portion of the development from the other side.
There's not one proposed as part of the plan.
There isn't.
The enclave backs up to this parcel, or I'm sorry. Yes, there's no other road access behind this parcel.
Well, exactly my point. I think that they should maintain Clymer since it's the only way into their development and the only way out.
Well, if that happened, it would have to be some kind of cost sharing because Clymer is also used by all of the Newtown portion residents that access their
Understood, but,
homes
I mean,
by
It's
Clymer.
not like we could put a guard at Clymer and say you can't get in, can't get out. They're still going to be using that road. And it's going to be.
Seems that way, yeah.
Half of that development, which sits in another township, is going to be using our roadway, of which is the only way in. Unless they want to construct something going out to Creamery, then that's fine.
Yeah, these plans were approved years ago.
I know.
I mean, this has been.
Well, if that would be something that the board would be interested in, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sander, but that would then sort of involve an intermunicipal agreement that Upper Makefield would maintain Clymer Drive, and then the agreement would be signed between the two municipalities once construction is complete of Phase 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this agreement doesn't speak to maintenance of the road.
Correct.
Once the developer dedicates it to Newtown, it's Newtown's road.
Yes.
If we wanted to pursue an intergovernmental agreement with Upper Makefield Township for a cost sharing of the maintenance of Clymer Street, then that's something that the board can certainly authorize us to pursue.
Well, I'm assuming that would cost us money, and it seems a little strange. I mean, we have public roads leading to our shopping center that I think people from Upper Makefield also use, and we maintain those. We don't ask visitors to Newtown to help us maintain our roads, do we?
This is a development of where there's people, they're residents of another township sharing our road, which we are going to maintain. If they had their own roadway, then there'd be less wear and tear. It'd be only our residents naturally. And I understand anyone can use that road, but as of the moment, half of the residents in that developed, the Melsky track, is going to be from Upper Makefield using, and the only entrance they could use is Stupeville Road, which is another road that is Newtown Township, and Clymer leading into their development. And I'm just asking for a share of taking care of it, that's all.
I understand. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all. In fact, if the board wants us to pursue that, we'll be happy to reach out to Upper Makefield.
But this agreement is with us and Toll Brothers.
The agreement tonight is between you and the developer, yes.
Dolington Land LP.
Correct.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you. That concludes our report.
Okay. Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance as of tonight is $2,359,636. The plan expirations before the board with no action required. We still have Chief Hearn here for his police report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening again. For the month of January 2020, the Police Department logged 21,300 miles, patrol miles. We documented 1,601 calls for service, at which time we effected 12 arrests. The arrests were for 4 for DUI, 4 for theft, 1 for receiving stolen property, 1 for vandalism, 1 for false identification to a law enforcement officer, and 1 for narcotics possession. There were 24 cases also referred to detectives for further investigations, which included 4 crime scene processing. There were 94 traffic crashes, 18 of which were deer-related, and we did have 1 fatal motor vehicle crash on Richborough Road on January 8th. That determined to be an operator error at this point. We issued 213 traffic citations and issued 45 warnings to operators. We continue to do our commercial vehicle enforcement initiatives in various areas, both in the task force in Upper Makefield, in Newtown Borough, and in Newtown and Wrightstown. For public service announcements, just keep in mind with these traffic accidents and the fatality, please slow down, put the phone down, wear your seatbelt, obey all traffic control devices. Law Officer Frank Goodwin, one of our accident reconstructionists, was also accepted as a participating member of the Bucks County District Attorney's Crash Task Force team that will respond anywhere in the county for serious motor vehicle crashes. It's an excellent opportunity for our guys to develop and move even further. Our official drug tag back day is at the administration building here on April 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We did have several reports of counterfeit money, so if you own a business in Newtown, make sure you're verifying the funds that are coming into your cash registers to make sure they're legit bills. Any questions, please contact us or refer to the Treasury Department for confirmation on how you can verify the bills are accurate and legit. And like I said, we continue our enforcement initiatives at various points of the township. That's my completion of my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sure. Any questions for the chief?
Yes, Chief, I have a couple. I mean, as you know, residents are very concerned about traffic, and I know the police department is doing an excellent job. You mentioned over 300 traffic citations, so you must be catching some people violating the traffic. But specifically on Mill Pond Road, there was a serious accident that the residents of Newtown Crossing asked me about what can be done to perhaps try to slow people down on Mill Pond Road. People have suggested things like speed bumps and stop signs. Is there something that can be done, in your opinion, to help with that situation? People were especially interested perhaps in additional stop signs on Mill Pond Road.
Sir, I did pick up some chatter on Nextdoor app from the residents up there pertaining to their concerns and about the speed humps and additional stop signs. Mill Pond, it was recently repaved, so it's a smooth road. It's a cut through from Richborough Road over to Buck Road for people coming from Northampton and this end of the township. A lot of the violations, as a result of the information I was receiving on Nextdoor and the complaints that I was seeing, we conducted an analysis of that location. Personally, I don't believe there's additional stop signs warranted on that stretch. The speed limit is 25 miles an hour. I'll continue to evaluate that. We did put a couple officers out there strategically in unmarked and semi-marked vehicles, and we did a traffic initiative from Saturday till it's going on to even to today to try to slow down the vehicles, traffic's going through there. It's a cat and mouse game. You know, when they're there, they'll stop. A couple of them get citations. A lot of the citations are actually coming from the residents that live within them developments. The actual male that was involved in a motor vehicle crash actually was a resident of that development. So I don't mind enforcing.
He wasn't from Upper Makefield, was he?
No, he was not. And the speed humps that they talked about, they have to keep in mind speed humps create noise. They create a delay in fire apparatus and emergency services from getting to their house. God forbid they need them. And it comes into additional cost for the township as a result of plowing needs if it snows. So if they start asking for certain things, you got to be concerned about the repercussions that come along with that, which may create additional problems for them. We will continue to go out there and enforce the motor vehicle code. I can't guarantee all my staffing to that particular stretch because we have a large township to cover. But we will do our best to try to make sure the residents are safe.
Well, the residents know that you're doing a good job. They just think that, you know, as you said, it's a cat and mouse game. But regarding whether stop signs are necessary, if there was some serious consideration for that, what would have to be done? A traffic study? I know we've done one like on Frost Lane when because it's a school road, access road there. So it was important to understand what the traffic was there. Is that a possibility to do some kind of a traffic study? Are people actually obeying the 25-mile-per-hour limit? I mean, obviously, I don't think they are.
I don't believe anybody's enforcing that or obeying any traffic control signals in the county. It's just a matter of trying to pay attention to what you're doing at the time. That's why I indicate, some of these developments, they're 25 to 35, people go 37, 38. We've done stealth studies at particular locations, which is basically a timing device with how many cars pass a particular location. We did it on Sycamore Street. We did it on, we're going to do it on Mill Pond. Most of the data that we're receiving is majority of the vehicles are traveling under the speed limit. So if we were to do an actual study, sure, one can be done. It's going to cost money, though. Somebody's going to have to pay for it.
Okay. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Chief. Next two items on the agenda have to do with capital purchases that were included in the 2020 budget. First of which is for the purchase of 3 police vehicles. We had a total of $145,000 budgeted under the capital plan in the 2020 budget. The proposals that we have received from Havas and Chapman Auto Group total $143,870,000. The purchase will be completed through CoStar's in the combined amount of $143,870.90. So the appropriate motion would be motion to approve 3 police vehicles from Chapman Auto Group and upfitting through Havas Incorporated through CoStar's in the combined amount of $143,870,000.90.
Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
The next item is for a work vehicle. This truck is, please recall from the budget discussions, it's an F-550 utility body. This machine will be primarily designated to do curb repair, road repair, and plowing. We've reached out to Chapman Auto Group as well, and they gave us an outstanding price of roughly $81,000 when we had $95,000 budgeted in the capital plan. So the appropriate motion would be to purchase a Ford F-550 from Chapman Auto Group through CoStars in the amount of $80,969.
I have such a motion.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions from the board, from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Passes 4-1.
Just wanted to mention briefly that the board met in executive session on January 23rd and 24th to discuss matters of personnel, and earlier this evening to discuss matters of pending litigation. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I think the 23rd was mentioned at the last televised
Was it previously?
meeting.
Okay.
The illegal televised meeting that we had. Anyway, moving right along to minutes, bills list, and reports. Mr. Mack.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2020 Board of Supervisors special meeting.
That was a regular meeting.
There's a regular meeting.
Is it a regular meeting?
That was.
22nd.
Yeah.
The 23rd, wasn't it?
22nd is first.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 22nd regular meeting.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay, now, on to January 23rd, special meeting. I make a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay, January was a busy month. We had a meeting, another special meeting, January 29th, and I make a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
Motion and a second. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
On to the bills list of February 12th, that's today, 2020. I make a motion that we pay our bills according to the bills list of February 12th, 2020, totaling $376,600.31.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board?
I have a question on page 9 about the video expenses due to some failure, I think, of the AC system. Page 9, there was $7,485 for replacing the AC system in the video room. Is that a separate AC up there?
Yes, it's a separate unit up there.
Why is that necessary? It's
That's
pretty
just the
cold
way
right here. What, they just opened that window.
That's just the way the building was designed.
Oh, the electronics take up they create a lot of heat.
Is that, are the electronics maybe a little old? Or you replace something,
Even new ones run
emergency,
hot.
ultra, Nexus, what?
Even new ones run hot.
Yeah, they do?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
But to answer your question, yes, everything is aging.
Everything is aging, yes, okay.
That's just going to bring on a new bill. Watch what you ask.
But I don't see $7,000. I see $4,090.57, if that's what you're looking at.
I thought it was payable to Worth and Company,
Worth and Company, okay.
$7,485.
$7,720, right?
Which one are you looking at?
This one here, Worth.
Top number. That one.
Well,
So on the same page, there's one for Video Gold, and there's one for Worth and Company.
Right.
Well, whatever it is, it's a big number.
Okay.
I just wanted to find out more about that, that's all.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Finally, I make a motion to approve interfund transfers as per the bills list dated February 12, 2020, totaling $269,640.03.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, second session of public comment. Anyone who wants to make comment, please come up to the podium and have your say. Okay, seeing none. Old business. As you know, last meeting, there was a little bit of confusion here. We had a proposal by eConsult Solutions, Inc. in regards to a financial analysis of a 5-year plan. The motion was made, it was never seconded, so it died for a lack of a second, but it didn't die because it was voted upon. We've had time to rethink this and look over the proposal one more time, and I will throw it to Mr. Fisher, since he was the original motion maker, so to speak. So I will let him have this chance to make the motion again.
I would very much like to make that motion again, that we consider, that we actually pass, award a 5-year financial plan proposal to eConsult Solutions, Inc. And that is my motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board?
I just have a comment. Now that we have Mr. Oxley here, who I feel much better about getting involved with this consulting firm, especially since Mr. Oxley described himself as a man of the people, and his belief that accessibility is a true value. So what I believe and I hope is that going forward with this project, I am confident that Mr. Oxley might take a leading role with Mr. Fisher, who has championed this project, to make sure it is an open process that involves as much as possible resident input. so that they understand what's going on with our finances and where we might be heading in 5 years. So I just would like to make that statement.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any other questions from the board? From the public? Do you have something you want to say, Mr. Oxley?
I just want to let John know that in terms of the strategy that we have in place with the consult, we'll make sure that the entire residents are well aware of what we're doing and the strategy along for the plan 5 years. Thank you.
And we will have, as a component to the research that they do, they will have some public interactions, some surveys that will take place.
Public comment?
Yeah, I was here when they gave the presentation, and they kind of like piecemealed everything. Oh, if we do this, it's going to cost this much more, and if we do that, it's going to cost that much more, and before you know it, there goes the grant, there goes the matching funds and all that stuff, and we're paying a lot more money. For somebody that's going to come and say, yeah, you're in bad shape, you need to raise your taxes because that's what you guys want to see. So, I mean, why are we doing this?
For the 5-year planning component, so that we can plan 5 years ahead. Our capital expenses are going to be done, and those are often big ticket items. So
how could you predict 5 years in advance when you don't know who's going to be working here?
That's what the professionals will tell us.
Professionals, right?
Yes.
Come on.
Well, that's what I believe. People are trained in order to do this kind of work.
Okay. Democrats, taxes spent.
Thank you for those, I won't call them racist comments, but anyway. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm George Skladani. I'm representing the Finance Committee. The vote tonight is really a culmination of over a year's worth of effort by the nonpartisan Financial Committee. Remember, the committee was made up of independents, Republicans, and Democrats. And we came to this conclusion with a lot of hard work and a lot of hard effort. We cannot be more clear. The committee unanimously supports awarding this contract. If we believe that if the supervisors truly have the best interests of the township and its citizens at heart, they will recognize the need to significantly strengthen the township finances. The findings of the consultant report will be a major tool to use to help accomplish that task. We also believe the independent professional analysis of the township finances will provide much of the information needed to help make the many critical financial decisions facing us in 2020 and into the future. With that, we hope that the financial health of the township will be significantly improved for many years to come.
Thank you.
Can I say something else? If you're paying this private company all this money to give you an example of what may happen, why do you have a finance committee for? Should be disbanded.
I'd like to respond.
Let's not get into a debate here. The Finance Committee is comprised of volunteers that do other things. This is a professional organization, a professional company, whatever you want to call it, that this is what they do for a living. We've seen other cities and towns that they've helped and assisted. 5-year plan isn't a bad thing. Nobody knows if we're going to be here in 5 years. But the whole thing is that our township is basically built out. We're running into a situation where we need revenue. We need somehow to derive that revenue, and maybe these people can give us some sort of suggestions of how to do that. because we all live here. Nobody wants to raise taxes. But the only thing is, if we don't derive some sort of way of bringing revenue into this township, our EIT is going to diminish because every other township out there in Bucks County is catching on that this is a good way for them to complement their budgets. So is this a bad thing? I don't think so. Are we getting a grant for this, which is a good thing? So I don't know what you want. You want a group of volunteers to go out on the limb to make these suggestions? Yes, they can, but they're also not professionals at doing this. And that's why we've reached out to this consulting company.
And if I may, I believe that they'll be able to identify, these professionals, be able to identify some operational efficiencies that maybe we're overlooking somewhere because we're too close to the day-to-day actions of the township. I believe they'll bring in some technology, some technological ideas that may help us. All that, and it came in under budget. We had a matching grant for $40,000, and it's going to come closer to $35,000, our part. So there's a savings right there.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Passes 4-1. Any other old business?
I have something. As you know, in the past, I've advocated for the Savvy Citizen mobile-based notification system. A lot of people, a lot of businesses have come forward, several businesses and individuals come forward to offer a sponsorship that might cover the cost of such a system. However, after consulting with Mr. Lewis and Chief Hearn, it's obvious that more than money is needed, and we need somebody who's going to manage any system like that and additional communications with the public. And speaking with Mr. Lewis, we talked a little bit about a public relations manager with experience in technology, so you can combine getting the word out about Newtown, getting the word out about meetings, and doing it in a high technology manner so that we can reach as many people as possible. And that would be a critical component, I think, of getting more businesses into Newtown by having somebody like that on board. I know there's no money in the budget for that this year, but hopefully that might be one of the recommendations from our consultants that we're hiring, to get a person like that on board to help get the word out about Newtown. So at this point, I'm not going to further ask that the Savvy Citizen be put into the 2020 budget as a line item. But I just want to let people know that I'm still interested, and I think we talked about maybe other ways of getting the word out if we move forward in the future with public relations.
Any other old business, rather, I'm sorry. Okay, seeing none, move on to new business. We have a resolution for, Mr. Mack had mentioned earlier about Love Day at the Rainbow Room. And unfortunately, Newtown Township was a little bit too late in passing a resolution for this year. But we would like to discuss the possibility of passing a resolution for Love Day, which would be February 14th.
15th, sorry.
You don't want it to be the 14th?
Yeah, I would like to make a couple of modifications to the draft that I submitted, but...
Okay, let me finish and we'll get onto a motion and discussion.
Okay.
Let me just say Love Day in February, and will be 2021, of which I think The good thing in that is the Newtown Township will have the jump on every other township because we're planning it out a year ahead, and we'll be all set and not have to worry about setting the date, 14th or 15th, which, Mr. Mack, I will let you expand upon that.
Well, we don't want to compete with Valentine's Day, but since this was an idea that was presented by State Senator Steve Santaciero at the State Senate, and he failed to get that to the floor for a vote. Now, this is in recognition of the needs of the LGBTQ community, and I can quote what Mr. Santaciero said: "February can be a particularly difficult time for our LGBTQ plus youth." He made it in an impassioned speech on the floor of the Senate. It is time when most of our society celebrates love, February 14, Valentine's Day, but for LGBTQ youth, they often feel sidelined on that day because of a feeling of a lack of acceptance, a lack of understanding, a lack of empathy. Those are words from our state senator. Thankfully, there are programs like the Rainbow Room to help these youth, which, by the way, they suffer from suicide. The study shows that they're 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their peers who are heterosexual. I wanted to put forward this resolution, and I can tell you that Newtown Borough has already passed this resolution unanimously last night, and they were in time for this year, and I think we can do the same if we wanted to vote on it tonight. However, there are a couple of things, a draft that I would like to change. Obviously, it's the February 15th date. That's important. And I don't think it should be just for 2021, but ongoing for every year. And I would like to also add a whereas, which would state that the rate of suicide among teenagers within the LGBTQ plus community is nearly 4 times higher than for their heterosexual peers. And that's a quite alarming statistic, I think. And it's based on a study, so it's not just made up. So given the fact that the borough has already passed a similar resolution and Doylestown is on the verge of doing the same, I would hope I could make a motion to adopt this resolution with some of the modifications I've enunciated. If people want to see...
Well, the normal procedure for a resolution is that it's discussed at the previous meeting and then passed at the next meeting, and I think that was mentioned before. This resolution, we're all seeing it right now. Maybe some board members want a chance to look it over, plus you just made numerous changes to it, and I don't see any problem with it being passed, like you said, for 2021 and beyond. Again, we understand that any board can reverse a resolution. So I don't know why the motion was made, but I'm going to make a motion to table the motion that Mr. Mack just made. And does anyone like to second my table?
I'll second the table.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any questions from the board on the table?
I think it's a very simple resolution that people can easily understand, especially us intelligent people here on the board, within minutes. So I see no need for it to be postponed until February 26th.
I have a motion to table and a second. Yes.
If I just make a comment, I wholeheartedly support the resolution. I would like to give the public a chance to look at it. And so when we come back on the 26th, we can hopefully in my mind, that we accept it then.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment on why I'd like to table it.
Sure.
I like the idea of the resolution. I don't like the idea of a specific day set aside for a specific group. I think it goes a little exclusionary. I think if you make a general statement with the rest of the items in there, I like the statement better. Those, a special day seems unnecessary to me.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of tabling this till the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
I don't hear another supervisor.
I said aye.
You just say aye? Okay. Table passes 4-1. It'll be discussed, and maybe just get the changes in, and we'll be able to see those changes for the next meeting. Next on new business, as you all know, we have openings on certain committees, and we actually have some people that are interested in fulfilling their volunteer duty and helping the township. And I will go with the motion for the first would be for the, looks like the Veterans Committee. We have someone who is interested. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Alex Treese to the Veterans Committee.
Alex Treese. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second motion and a second. It looks like Mr. Treese served in the 82nd Airborne, a winner of the Bronze Star. He's also a Gold Star parent. And unfortunately, his youngest son is buried in Washington Crossing Veteran Cemetery. So I think Mr. Treese would be a great fit for the Veterans Committee. Any comments from the board, from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question for Mr. Treese. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. We have two that are interested in for the Finance Committee. And I will leave it open to the board to make some nominations here.
Once again, I'd be happy to nominate Shelley Hallen and Jennifer Vosteris to be members of the Finance Committee.
Okay. You want to make a dual motion, or
Could
you
we
want
have
to take
a
one at a time?
one and one, please?
Okay.
Sure.
Sure. Let's do Jennifer first.
Okay, Jennifer Vostinas.
So my motion is to appoint Jennifer.
Do I have a second? I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Jennifer has, again, experience in finance by working with nonprofits, also profit organizations doing budgets for the finances of these certain organizations, a responsible steward of the community resources, attentive to budget oversight, and creative business generation. Again, I think that Jennifer will make a good fit on the Finance Committee. I have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board?
Yes, I know Jennifer because we've interviewed her for the supervisor position in a public meeting, and I'm just a little bit hesitant to recommend a nomination without further questions that I might like to ask, especially in light of the public comment we've had tonight. We need to carefully vet people who are going to be on the Finance Committee. I think it's an important committee, and they need to have the proper attitude, maybe, and as well as their credentials. So I would just like to make a motion maybe to table this until we get an opportunity to actually interview this person.
I have a motion to table. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
You're seconding the motion to table? Okay, motion to table. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. The motion to table fails. We still have a motion to approve Ms. Vostinas to the Finance Committee. Any other questions from the board on this? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Passes 3-2. Did I hear 2 nays? I didn't hear anything.
Nay.
Okay. We have a second nomination for the Finance Committee. Shelley Howland.
And I'd like to make the motion to appoint Shelley Helen to the Finance Committee.
Okay, I will second that motion. Any questions from the board?
Now, again, I know even less about this person, other than what you can read in a resume, so I, again, would ask to make a motion to table this until we have an opportunity to actually talk or interview this person.
I have a motion to table. I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion to table fails 3-2. 2-3, rather, I'm sorry. It's a shame that we're going through this process because every meeting we ask for volunteers. And we're always asking for volunteers because we have openings on certain committees. Tonight we got 3 viable volunteers. I'm glad nobody challenged the Gold Star parent, but the other 2 who came forward to want to volunteer for the Finance Committee did because they want to contribute to the township. And here we're having their character basically questioned.
Oh, no.
I'm not finished.
Nobody questioned their character.
We're having their experience
Please don't
questioned.
put words into my
We're having their
mouth.
experience questioned.
Jesus.
Okay? My God. And it's
Yeah,
a shame
I am
because
not
we
questioning
sit here-
anybody's character.
We sit here when we ask for volunteers, basically beg for volunteers, and when we get them, they are questioned.
I am not
So I am
questioning
calling
them.
the question.
I didn't have a chance to
All
question
those in
them.
favor of Shelley Howard on the Finance Committee, say aye.
I want to make another comment.
Any opposed? Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Passes 3-2. We have any use for an executive session tonight? I didn't hear any answer. No executive
Nope,
session?
not for me.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn. So moved.